Former President Donald Trump could be facing a new possible federal indictment. He hinted at it strongly, announcing that he received a target letter from the Department of Justice.
Yeah, this news comes as the former president faces 37 federal felony counts in relation to accusations of illegally retaining classified documents at his Mar-a-Lago estate. Cal State Long Beach political science professor Jason Whitehead joins us now with some insight on all of this. Jason, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. Can you talk about, usually when people get a target letter, it signals that an indictment is coming. There's been some reporting as to what that could look like in terms of charges in that target letter. Three different charges have been reported by various media outlets: defrauding the U.S., witness tampering, and deprivation of civil rights. Can you break those down for us?
Yeah, I think what you're looking at in the target letter is a signal from the prosecution that, in fact, charges are imminent. And that's almost always what a charging letter or what a target letter from the DOJ especially represents. If we're looking at the actual charges, I do think there is a little bit of play in the joints here. So certainly defrauding the United States government is a charge that, almost all analysts are saying that Jack Smith is going to bring, based on the fake electors, based on all of the work that Trump and his associated attorneys like John Eastman and Kenneth Chesebro and others did during that time period to really obstruct the counting of the electoral vote. So that seems like a certainty to me. The other charges, as far as witness tampering, those are things that we don't have a lot of access to the evidence that would support that. So obviously Jack Smith has more information than we do on those counts. But it's likely, certainly, that intent to defraud the government. It's also likely that attempt to or actual obstruction of an official proceeding would be charged. That would be all of the efforts that Trump made during the day of January 6th to prevent the counting of the electoral votes as officially required by the Constitution.
You know, it's kind of interesting that, as far as we know, his associates or enablers, whichever way you want to look at it, have not received the target letters, right? John Eastman, Rudy Giuliani, a lot of the others around him. And normally prosecutors narrow in on the underdogs, right? And then they get them to flip on the main target, which in this case would be the former president. What do you make of that?
That's the idea in a major investigation like this. It's complicated, I think, by the fact that this is such a high-profile investigation. You've got a target that's running for president, right? So there are all kinds of complicating factors. But ordinarily, the path to an indictment, especially of, a powerful person, a formerly powerful person in government, would be to go after the associates first, to go after the lower level associates first. It's kind of like a food chain. So you work your way up to the big fish. You work your way up to the people that had more power, that were actually, more influencing the effects, the things that we saw behind the scenes. But I think with Giuliani and Eastman and Meadows and some of the others, we can't rule out the possibility that some of them, one or more of them, may be cooperating with the government. And so there may be a plea deal. There may be some immunity that they've negotiated as a result of those negotiations. And so it's possible that they're not charging them now because, there's already a deal to charge them with a lesser offense if they testify against Trump, for example. Or it could possibly be, as we see in the classified documents case, that the investigation is going to be ongoing even after Trump is charged. And so other people could be charged. In fact, we're seeing another charge of another individual in the documents case this week. So it's possible that people like Eastman and Giuliani and perhaps Meadows and others might be charged later in the investigation, because the timeliness issue is not as big of a deal with them. Obviously, they're not running for president.
Well, we do know others were going to testify in front of the grand jury, so that is the investigation is still ongoing. When it comes to former Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, though, he did meet in front of the January 6th committee, started cooperating with them, then didn't cooperate. So it will be interesting to see how that plays out in all of this. But when you look at the indictments now against the former president, you have the one in New York, hush money payments. You have the one in Florida, which is the documents case. Don't you find this one potentially to be the most digestible for the American public because of the video evidence from January 6th and the January 6th investigation with Congress?
Yeah, you make some good points. I think all of us lived through that day. All of us were gripped by the events. We were all following it, on our personal devices or on television. We all saw these images that we're seeing on the screen right now. That image of the guy climbing up the outside wall of the Capitol was the first image I saw, and it's an image that's seared into a lot of Americans' brains. So yeah, I think that if you're thinking about the comparison between the different indictments, it does seem like the facts of this case are ones that the American people are going to be eminently familiar with. And there is also some evidence that Jack Smith is putting together a case that's going to be a simpler case maybe than he could bring based on all the facts that he's gathering. And that simple case, I think, is going to be kind of narrowly tailored to speak not just to the jury, but to speak as well to the American people, to say, in fact, the American democracy cannot survive, allowing a person to be elected who's challenged the American democratic system and really, harmed it in certain ways. I think that's the case that he wants to bring to the larger public.
All right, Professor Jason Whitehead, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thanks for your patience as we followed that pursuit. Appreciate it.